Thank you, Tim. Thanks for the warm words. It's very nice. So as he was saying, you're going to get the full blast of German accent for the second round too. So I hope that's okay for everyone. I also want to settle the expectations quite well. Keynote, that's a fancy word, right? Like it's not a TED Talk. I want to be like impulsive. And I want to share just some experience that we have and we see from different clients. And also when we talk about like to stand out in the market, we're going to talk about some trends, what we see that clients do perform. And I was impressed in listening also to the panel because there's a lot of topics that align. And also some topics maybe hopefully you can take out some key takeaways or some impulses. That's why I like the word impulse for your daily business and what to do. Before we jump in, or let's go to the agenda first. It's gonna be very like straightforward. So challenges, and Tim was introducing that too. What do we see in the parts industry? What do we see in general? Where do they come from? What opportunities do lie behind it, especially with focus on pricing? And then what kind of different trends? We brought 4 trends. If I say 4, if I say we, it's more or less like me and the team, also in combination with my team from Germany. That's what I like. So it's not a one-man show we do here in the US, but we together help our clients to understand and get these trends also implemented up and rolling. And then we have some takeaways. So maybe also for that beautiful idea to write down 3 if you don't have one at the end. So maybe you can just pick and choose from the list we have at the takeaways at the end. Thanks for the intro, Tim. Again, Nico, I'm based in New York, but more important, like besides me, is Horváth itself. Shouldn't be like a huge marketing slide, but still I find it very important because it's very different to what we are in Europe. Horváth & Partners, a full service management consultancy. But let's be honest, maybe you can raise your hand, whoever heard about Horváth & Partners here in the US. And now from all of you, who is not German? And that's what I like. So in Germany, there's a certain like footprint. In the US, we're working on that footprint, and that's why I'm super happy to be here since 2 years and also have like the opportunity to drive that. So just in numbers, like over in Europe and also with the US and the Arabics, 1,500 employees, and we are heavily rooted. So the name Horváth is from an Hungarian, Peter Horváth, a professor, and he rooted in controlling performance management and finance. And my practice, pricing and profitability, heavily benefits from it because we are coming from the finance side, we are coming from the performance management side and drive our entire consulting approach from that perspective. A lot of logos, that's always quite beautiful, but what's more important is like our thought leadership and what we also try to bring as a value to our clients. And that's also why it's so nice to be here at MAKRT-PILOT, and you also see it here, to partner up with thought leaders, and Tim made that point. All of you are innovators, so is MAKRT-PILOT, so is us in the US, and to have that kind of combination in thought leadership and new perspective to offer that. Long story short, I guess it helps a bit to get the impression of what Horváth & Partners is. Management consultancy is for everyone. Quite a name, but nevertheless, what we are with the performance management perspective helps a lot to set the scene. All right, so let's jump in the content. We said at the beginning there's a lot of challenges, and that's true. Also our clients and a lot of them, and it's not like uncertainty, not only uncertainty in terms of the upcoming elections, and also a broader economic kind of challenge with the war in Europe, with implications on the supply chain also coming here to us in the US, etc. It's also in our daily business, right? So purchasing prices, this increase, labor forces, all kind of challenges that force us to act, and sales of new machinery is unfortunately not going up, so therefore we need to focus on something else. And after sales and aftermarket is one of these topics where the core business could benefit from. If we talk after sales and aftermarket, we have these 3 pillars: spare parts or services and digital products and services. I want to back that with a bit of numbers, and I talked to Donnie before, and he was saying like, obviously there is a lot of potential in spare parts. And if you look at the numbers, what we see from clients, there's 2 to 10 times higher margin in parts compared to new products or new sales of new machinery. it's impressive. Do our management board and management people know that by heart? Not sure, but that's good for us because it's an opportunity. It's the same also for services. So what you see here in that kind of numbers, 25% account for revenue, but 50% of profit. So, and if we talk services like maintenance and having support functions, etc. And then the last but not least, but very, very important to mention, our digital services. 60% believe that digital services are a huge driver and have a massive benefit, especially when it comes to remote diagnostic. And it helps to reduce a lot of downtime. It's very simple. Like, you don't need to go to like to the factory and also have then on the machinery someone who comes in that does an analysis, then the part needs to be ordered because it's not available, whatever. You can do that way before, and then you can save the downtime for the machinery. And it sounds easy, but it's not. And you need to be able to have that service. You have the digital service, the capability, and therefore these three kind of focus areas are ones where we all, I think, can align. There's a huge potential in it. We know now the potential, but how to navigate for these three kind of topics. I was saying we brought 4 trends, and that's exactly where I want to walk you through today. And also at the end, happy to go in discussions, and also later on, whatever you feel like. From left up corner, very, very also known and not normal or normal for everyone, but not for the business. So decisions will be fully data-driven. No doubt it will be the case. Do we have the capability? Not really in some of the companies, depending on the maturity. So we're gonna have a look at this. Second up, softwares and different solutions. It's nice to do pilots. One of my colleagues all the time says like, there's more pilots in the companies than United has. But it doesn't help, right? So like, we need to industrialize these pilots. We need to make it, I would call it mainstream, to get it within the teams. Buzzwordy, but still valid. Smart algorithms, AI, Gen AI, but how? Like, use cases, how can we really leverage it, or do we just talk about it and that's it, right? And then at the end, and this is most likely where I find a lot of common senses then in the group with you together, understand the costs, combining it with internal costs, combining it with external data to stand out. And this is also something, Tim, you mentioned it in your comment, internal and external data. And I find that very valuable because it's exactly what we need, combining that data and making use of that data. Let's jump into it. So, data-driven decision-making. I guess it was Jennifer, you were saying like you start already with you breaking up silos, combining all the different stakeholders, getting like opinions, having that decision process not as a sole function, but also having more departments contributing. What we see here is kind of the, one call it ecosystem, but for these decisions, we always need different stakeholders. For lots of companies we do see, they are in silos. And what does that mean in silos? That also the database is held up in silos. So we have our pricing database, then we have sales figures, then we have our production side, we have a CRM, we have our SAP, we have maybe a different ERP. It's nice to have that, it's never combined. What does that mean? If you look at that base layer right here, a centralized data lake, and let's go back as a consultant, that's some buzzwords again, like a single source of truth and data lakes, and we like to talk about that, but it's hard to get there, to centralize, standardize data. If we do it with all of the data we have and we have access to it, it makes our decision process fully data integrated. And it helps for descriptive and also for predictive decisions. We were talking before in the panel too, like automatic warnings. There was also the question regarding the automatic warnings. It's a game changer if I know if it pops up in my dashboard and I say the trends are going low. I need to figure out what's happening. Real-time reports define real time For some of them, it's like in the morning we get a data upload, and then the data upload is valid for the entire day because that's the database we have. This is not real time. Real time is like right now, and I want to see what's happening in the market. I want to see how my competition is working. I want to see how my sales are working. And that's quite important from my point of view, that understanding for a fully data-driven perspective is not that easy as it is said. And if you look at your finance, IT department, they all have the same challenges. And then it comes down to like, how do we combine the data? So first up, all of these trends, to be honest, really, the champions for pricing 2.0, they make that happen. They make happen to have one single source of truth, to be able to have the database. And then maybe you need to put in a password. I'm not aware about the password. Or we just put on cancel, that helps too. Nevertheless,
just keep talking.
Okay, I keep talking. Nevertheless, perfect. Thank you. That's the important topic about fully data accessibility. Make it a bit more precise in examples, and I don't want to pick on everything. It's also a lot of text, but it's also maybe helpful at the end, and I'm happy to share that also if someone wants to have it. But on the lower part, right, system landscape, for example, there is not a unified system landscape in general. We rely a lot on Excel files because it's that what we are used to work with, and that's also what we share. Like we do a download, we do upload, we share it with our team, etc. But with tools, and also it doesn't need to be a fancy tool. Power BI, for example, is a super solution just to have the first impression of that kind of automation and dashboarding style. So these are the first kind of topics where data and a fully integrated data system helps. And the pricing speed is another one I want to point out, because speed to market and also react to certain topics, it's crucial for the business. Cloud-based pricing operations is maybe not far out, but not for everyone, but we need to be able to act when it's important and not to be like sitting there and we okay, like there's like a certain event happening and now we need to calculate, but the servers are down and we need to have a workaround, etc. That makes a champion to react to these situations. Software solutions. So I was mentioning the pilot case and that example with United and the pilot in the companies. I don't want to push on that kind of visualization, the different tools and the development, etc. I just want to drag a bit on that kind of development from rule-based pricing towards sophisticated pricing towards AI pricing, and this is only 20 years. What I obviously want to show is the beautiful investment in MAKRT-PILOT, but nevertheless, this is only an example for the pilot cases, because it's important, and you might also be familiar with the PriceFX, with Pros, with Cillian. There's so many software, but software most likely is not in the mainstream, it's not industrialized. There's maybe a little department that works with it, and then it goes within the company. Otherwise, we always have our Excel file by the side. And the case of that piloting to industrialization is very important. What it also requires is change management. So you can have beautiful pilots, you can have a handful of people who understand the benefit of that pilot or of that software. But trust me, most of your team won't follow you because they're not trained, they don't get the benefit, they want to work how they work since 20 years, which is also understandable because that's how they are used to work, and it worked. But that there is like benefits with it, that we can focus on relevant topics besides manual topics, etc. That needs to be educated and it needs to be talked with the organization. And this is why it's so important as like a second trend, what we see from clients trying to break out of that pilot mode into more like industrialization. So have that tool and management buy-in, fair enough, that's also true, but make it accessible for everyone and make it a benefit for everyone. Also here, it needs to be a success to work with new tools, with software. It needs to be a value for everyone. And then also I can shift maybe my priorities to a different topic. So I don't need to have that manual work, let's say 2 to 3 hours a day. I can spend these 2 to 3 hours way different, maybe in different decision-taking topics and other analysis I want to focus on. And that's quite important. So we were coming from a fully data, having a database. Second up, we have the software, and not only a software as a pilot, but also the understanding and the investments in the future. As a third trend, we have the use of it. So the use in that case in terms of AI and also in terms of automation, etc. What we brought here is 3 different use cases that most likely sound very familiar for you, but maybe are not automated. Also here, sorry, don't need to take your example again, but it fits quite nicely to the middle case, the white spot analysis. I want to understand, out of my, let's say, 10,000 products, what dealers do have my products, what do they sell, how often do they sell it, who is the customer. I have 3 different dealers, 2 of them have the same product portfolio, and 1 of them is missing 4. Why is that? Wouldn't it make sense that he has the same product too? Should we maybe shift it? Should we specialize that kind, etc.? We can do that by Excel, and Donny said that's working. We lookups, then we see sales, then we see we compare it with our distribution list, etc. Fair enough, but it can also be very nice on a white spot analysis in a dashboard, and I see right away that customer has that kind of product, that customer is lacking another one, or the typical case from Amazon, a client that bought that product also bought another product, but we cannot relate to it. This is happening when we make it happen to have that white spot analysis, and we again reduce our manual work because it's automated, and we can spend time in analyzing besides like creating it, and that's quite important. Same goes for value driver identifier, and I want to spend some time for value drivers again. Value-based pricing most likely is known for everyone here. How do we do that normally? We look in our parts, we look in our portfolio, and then we identify the certain value drivers, 4 to 5. How do we do that? Very manual. So customer criticality, product specialties, customer benefits, you name it. This is all possible with AI, for example. You can give a technical drawing of your part towards AI, and AI analyzes all the benefits of the product based on the benchmarks and gives you right away what we do here, like the product type, the process, strategic level, the class of material. It's working, and we don't need to do that in a long process. And then we can work with our value drivers to set the right scene and have it as an influence. You can see it in the 4th trend as an influence for the right price architecture. And on the far right side, the discount recommender. Also here, maybe that's a very special and relevant case when it comes to wholesale, but we need to have big quotes, right? And when we have big quotes, it's a bit small, but I guess you can still see it. There's the possibility, we have our list price, we have an average price, and we have an AI price, because the AI price recommender helps us based on history and based on how we sold to the wholesaler, analyzing the entire it's not the entire waterfall, but kind of the waterfall, to optimize the price level. Do I need to take it? That's up to me. But we have a comparison from the AI price recommender compared to our list price, for example, and to our average price. It is a decision, I would call it helper, it's not a decision taker. The taker, that's us. But we have a good kind of idea and a good comparison that's driven by AI. Sum it up again. Fully data. Then we have obviously our algorithm, and then we had obviously our softwares. Now we take all of these together and we focus on what's happening with all of that data. I want to walk you through that chart on the left side. So we were saying we have internal data and we have external data. Why is it important to understand our costs? for a long time, it wasn't that relevant, and for a long time, we weren't able to understand costs on a part level. And if I mean costs on a part level, really in detail. For each, and let's say we have 10,000 parts in our portfolio, I want to understand the costs of each of the single parts. How do they come together? In nowadays, also maybe 30% are in-house and 40% are sourced. But what 70% are sourced. But where do they come from? What is the exact amount? That's important to understand first. Then, what do we do with our external data? We look at the competition, and the competition tells us where the price points are. What you see here at that curve is like a competitive price, like the sum of competitive price points, and then we look on our competitive products, where are they priced? That's the ideal given price curve, and then we have our price points on the side. We want to be somewhere close there, and we want to identify where do we have our most impressive price point. We go back to our value pricing, and what you see here is two products, one with the value, the parts value 2.0 and 2.9. We analyzed that before. What we were saying, okay, we look at value drivers, what kind of value benefit do we have? We're gonna look that up with our competition prices and identify a markup factor. Markup factor times the costs we identified gives us the right price point. Manufacturing costs, understanding the price, the costs, competition benchmarks, in that case we have software and solution, gives us the opportunity to have a markup factor for our portfolio. And then from these 10,000 products, we go down the list and say, this is what my costs are, this is what the competition is, this is the markup I need to put on the product, so internal data, external data, and this is where we land. It's a beautiful example. It works for a client of us. We used that, so it's a real case. And the improvement is impressive, and also the understanding of the client. Because first off, transparency on the costs was not there. They didn't know on the part level the cost they have for each and every single part. Value-based pricing was known for them, but not in an automated way. And then also at the end, to combine that with external data was game-changing, because they were understanding this is our internal data, we know that right now. We can mark that up based on competition, and we have a very transparent price. It's, honestly speaking, it's very impressive. It requires a lot of work, but still, once you are there, it helps your company to grow, it helps your team to grow, because they understand where to set the right frame. 4 kind of trends we do see with our clients. What leads me to, and I saw, Tim, your sign, thank you for that, for the key takeaways. It's not too bad, right? Timing is okay. But that's important for everyone. So we walked that through together. We need to understand, that was the first slide, there is a massive potential in parts pricing. After that, what's our value in it? What do we really offer? Combine external and internal data, and I jump to that side because I want to make that transparent one more time. It's very important to understand this is how do we set up the price architecture? Then afterwards, obviously, what opportunities do I have to automate it? So what kind of opportunities can I use to automate it? And once I automate it, monitor and manage it. So once I made it, that I have the price, it doesn't stop with the price list, right? So it continues on and on, constant monitoring, constant management. And this is kind of takeaways I would like to share with you, and I hope you can resonate also with that at some point. 4 trends we saw with our clients, 4 impressive topics, especially with the last one, external and internal data. And I'm happy, one more slide I have, whenever you want to connect, right there. I'm happy to connect with you, and also later on, whenever you want to have a chat, happy to do so. And also want to learn from you, because that's very interesting just to share what you guys do compared to what our clients are doing. Thank you, Tim. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nico. Round of applause, please.